Okay, Bethany, we're talking about conflict today, but not just any old conflict. We're talking about conflict among believers.
And whenever there's friction, it's always tough. But you're right, adding this additional layer can make it a lot tougher. But we're here to provide you some hope whenever you find yourself in a situation where there's conflict between you and another believer.
Hey, I'm Steve. I'm the Gen Xer.
And I'm Bethany. I'm a millennial.
We used to do morning radio together, but now we're podcasting.
And despite being at different life stages, we're passionate about sharing ways to live out our faith in Christ.
And we have a lot of fun too. So whether you're old school
or new school,
you're going to find hope here.
Let's get started.
Okay, welcome in, Hope Dealers. We are glad you have pulled up again to the Steve and Bethany's Hopecast, and we are excited about talking about this episode of conflict because you and I have talked about this before. Neither one of us are good with conflict.
Well, yeah, neither one of us are super confrontational people. We don't enjoy it. In fact, I've been known to share this with people that, like, whenever I even overhear a conversation in a restaurant where like a couple at another table is unhappy with their food and they're, getting upset with the waiter or something like that, I physically cringe inside. It makes me anxious. It happened a couple weeks ago. Cody and I were out to eat and it seemed like everybody else had issues with their food except us. Like 3 tables around us were all complaining to the wait staff about their food. And I looked at Cody and I'm like, we need to get out of here. This is so...
It's a powder keg. It's just going to explode.
I can't handle it. Like, it makes me so uncomfortable. I feel, I'm not trying to be dramatic here, but it does feel like I'm having like a heart attack or something. Like my chest gets tight and I feel like I can't be there anymore. I need to leave. I wanted to ask for a to-go box for our food. I'm like, let's just wrap this thing up. Can we have the check, please?
Well, we're going to add an extra layer on this when we're talking about conflict, not just in those situations, but in situations where other believers are involved.
Yeah.
That's where it gets a little bit more dicey. So we'll talk about that coming up. But before we get there, the Guess the Gobbler.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. We've had a lot of people participate in Guess the Gobbler.
Nobody's gotten it, though.
Nobody's gotten it yet. But there's been a lot of guesses and a lot of, I don't want to say strange guesses, but I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, man, are you serious? Is this a joke?
A little creative answers is what I would say.
Yeah, they're
some
creative answers. Very good. That's a very good spin on it.
There we go.
That's a very good spin. There's creative answers, which we will play you the sound for Guess the Gobbler coming up at the end of this episode so that you can listen and hear it. We've got a list of all the wrong answers listed at our website, stephenbethany.com. Of course, the link is in the show notes, so you can click on it right there to be able to hear it, be able to make your guess. And then the person that does get it right gets a $100 Steve and Bethany Hopecast prize gift bag, gift box. What do we call it?
Prize pack.
Prize pack. We call it gift box.
We're going to give you a little something if you get this right.
Yes, just in time for the holiday season. We're all joyful for that. So that's what's on our agenda coming up here. Again, we'll have Guess the Gobbler at the end of the episode. But there's some big news from the Bilson/Fowler family.
Yeah, so big news in the family. My second nephew made his appearance over the weekend. I'm so excited. Brand new baby to the family. So this is my brother and his wife. This is their second little boy, and he's perfect and wonderful. And I got all the newborn snuggles yesterday. I got to meet him, and so I'm so excited. My sister-in-law Heidi got home from the hospital yesterday afternoon, and so we came over. We got to meet him. His name is Jack, and I forgot how sweet and precious newborns are because you don't always, I don't know, normally you see a baby when they're a few months old or something like that. I don't know. It's been a while since I've been around a newborn, and I had just the best time. It was wonderful. I held him and he just snuggled, and he's perfect. I love him.
That's tremendous. And his name is Jack.
Jack, yeah.
So your sister-in-law is a pretty tough chick.
She's a baller. That's what I call her. She's just she's cool on every level, and she's a tough chick for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
she hunts, and I feel like
that's what I mean.
Yeah, she's somebody that if it's going down and I need somebody to defend our home, or if there's a zombie apocalypse, I want Heidi on my team.
Not Cody, your husband, Heidi.
Well, no, I want both.
Oh,
but I want I want Heidi to definitely be a part of the team because
Right.
I feel like she would be an essential role. Basically, she could replace me. I don't need to be on the team, but Heidi does.
I hear you.
Heidi could replace me.
So that's why I thought Jack was such an appropriate name, because
Yeah.
that's a kind of a tough name.
Well, my
you
other
know?
nephew's name is
Rhett.
It's Everett, but we call him
Yeah.
Rhett. And so, yeah, Rhett, you got Jack. She chooses like tough names
That's
for
what
the
I'm
kids.
saying. That's
I
what
like
I'm
it.
saying. I think it's great. I love it. So
Yeah.
congratulations. And she's doing good.
Yeah, she's
Dad
good.
is doing good.
Yeah, my brother Aaron is doing great. Heidi's doing good. Baby's good. So everybody's happy. I think Everett is 2, and he's adjusting. His world just got rocked a little bit. So
Yeah,
he's settling into it for sure. But I think it might be a little bit of a learning curve.
If he's 2 years old and there's all of a sudden a brand new
Yeah.
something, what is this exactly?
That's what it is. Yesterday it was funny because he's been very gentle, and he's wanted to like give a little kiss to the baby, and so he's been sweet with him. But we all had dinner together, so we're sitting around the table, and he has learned to hold out his hands when we pray, to hold hands with mom and dad. So he does that. And he started kind of giggling as we were all holding hands. And I said, I think he's like, this is how it should be. It's just me around the table with everyone else. This is how it should be. So it's been a little bit of a learning curve, I think.
I think that's right. It's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for him. He'll have to adjust, but he will.
But I'm excited about it.
And then as time goes on, he'll tell him that he was, found underneath.
As any good sibling would.
Absolutely.
But it might get a little dicey later. Cody had to get on to me because I as soon as I found out that Jack had been born, like, okay, Jack has made his appearance. This is a great, exciting time. All this new emotion and all this stuff. I immediately pulled on like my Amazon app, and I'm just looking at baby clothes and just started browsing. And Cody was like, "Whoa, don't spend all of our money, please. Like, just wait a minute." But I immediately wanted to start buying all the baby clothes.
I can't believe you're not already done that.
I've showed an amazing amount of self-control so far.
Yes, that you have.
So far.
That's
I'm not
tremendous.
saying I'm going to last very long with this, but yeah.
Especially with Christmas coming up
Come
here in
on
just a few
now.
weeks.
I can't. And they're so cute. Like, I can't.
All right, so we're going to switch gears now from talking about the fun and the wonderfulness of a newborn to the conflict and the heartache and the kind of desperation and the kind of all those negative emotions that can come when you're talking about conflict with another Christian. Because I think it does add a little bit of a different layer. Because like what you were talking about earlier, if you're in a restaurant and you've got something wrong with your food, whatever, those kind of situations kind of handle themselves a lot of times in a different way. But when you've got another believer and it just is different.
Well, I think sometimes when we, are in church and there's a sermon about conflict or something like that, sometimes it's centered around representing Christ well to a non-believer. So, for example, you're in a restaurant, something's wrong with your food. You don't know, but maybe your waiter's not a Christian and they maybe saw you praying earlier. You don't want to behave or conduct yourself in a way that's not honoring to the Lord. And that's something that we should desire to do each and every day. None of us are going to do that perfectly, but you do want to conduct yourself in a way that's honoring to the Lord and that's kind and respectful. And so even if something is wrong with your food, you can't lose your mind over it. You want to be kind and be respectful to that other person. But sometimes I think we forget that we're also to represent Christ well, even when we're interacting with somebody that believes the same thing we do. Like that doesn't change. How we behave and our attitude shouldn't be any different dealing with a Christian or a non-Christian. It should be the same. We should still treat everyone with respect and with dignity and kindness, and try to come to a resolution or come to a healthy place without just, getting nasty and being unkind.
Well, because I think the opposite happens, though, a lot of times is because if it's another Christian, another believer that you're in conflict with, well, you don't want to cause a scene. You don't want to be the person that is acting like a jerk and not being Christ-like, but there are some things that need to be resolved. So how do you do that? So let me give you a real-world example of what has gone down, because this was the kind of the genesis for this episode. Was I had a friend. Okay, I haven't got permission to tell this story necessarily, so we're gonna use Bob and Larry.
Okay.
The Veggie Tales,
right? Yeah.
So we're gonna use Bob and Larry.
Bob
as
and
the
Larry,
names, because we get real names. We're not gonna use real names.
Right.
So my friend Bob, he got in touch with me and he said, "Hey, I I've got some work I would need done. I got a project. Do you know of anybody? I said, yes, you need to call Larry. Larry's a good guy. He's going to be able to help you out and do this job, I think, swimmingly. It'd be just great. Okay, so he does. And then I don't hear anything back about it. I think everything's fine. And then, I don't know, a week or so goes by, and Bob texts me, and Bob's not happy. He's kind of upset about the project. It didn't get done to his satisfaction, and he paid quite a bit of money for it. And he's asking me, how do I handle this?
So he wasn't upset with you? He was upset with the other guy.
At first, I thought he was.
Right.
I thought, well, look, I'm just the middleman here.
Right,
I shouldn't be held responsible for something like this. But no, he was just more concerned with wanting to know how to handle it, because he's like, I know this guy's another Christian, and I know he's your friend, and you're my friend. I want to handle it correctly, but I don't know how, because it has cost me a great deal of money. It's also not done the way I think it needs to be done. And then I had to go to the extra expense of having someone else do it.
Oh,
and so,
okay.
And so now, how do I handle this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. I said, all I know you can do is to call and get in contact with him and talk it out and see if you can work out some kind of resolution. I said, because I think Larry will be able to see the problem and will do whatever he can to make it right with you. And so he said, okay, I'll do that. Well, he texted Larry, but also included me on the text. And I was like,
oh,
well, yeah,
goodness.
I know. I was like, okay.
I hate a group text. I'm going to be honest. I hate it.
But it was actually pretty good, because he wanted just to make sure he wasn't being, he wanted me as kind of a witness, I guess, to make sure that he wasn't acting out of bounds, and then so that the other guy wouldn't act out of bounds in the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so they got together and they started talking, and I think they've come up with a resolution. Now, this all went down this past weekend, so I'm not sure how it all resolved itself out. But what I'm learned in this situation is that when you have another believer that is you're kind of crossways with, or you got to have some kind of resolution to the conflict.
Yeah.
You've got to treat it as openly and as honestly as you can. I think trying to hold back, because this would be my nature. My nature would be, hey, I wasn't really happy with what happened, but I know you tried hard, and I know, and all that, but it did cost me a lot of money. I would almost be the kind to make excuses,
like
and
say
to try
something, but then completely backtrack
almost.
Yeah.
But that's not the way to handle it, I don't think. I think
I feel like I would almost just not say anything. Like, even worse. I think I just would be like, well, never going to get that money back. Okay. And kind of like not say anything. I don't know.
Now, is that the right thing to do? Because, I mean, again,
I don't know. That would be I should say that maybe that's not what I would do. That would be my first response or my knee-jerk reaction. I think if I brought it up with other people, or if I, mentioned something to my husband about it or something, I think he would encourage me, like, well, we need to say something then. I don't know if that's how I would actually handle it, but I would be tempted to go that route.
Yeah, I think I would be too, now that you say that. But I think the way you have to handle it is, look, this is not good. How can we resolve this? Because you're always putting yourself out there. You're always putting yourself out there for somebody to say, well, no, this is as good as it's going to get, and no, you're not going to get your money back, or no, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, what happens? Now that's where some more heatedness could come, and emotions get out of control sometimes, I would guess. But I think you have to do that. I think you have to know how to say it. And I think Bob did a great job. I mean, I was at first like, why are you including me, man?
Yeah.
I am total bystander. I want to stay completely out of this, because I want to be both y'all's friends,
Yeah.
But it came back, and I thought, he really handled it, I thought, pretty well, because he wanted to make sure that everybody was professional. Nobody got mad at each other. And I think bringing a third person in kind of made sure that happened, that there wasn't a lot of finger pointing, and there wasn't a lot of, hey, you said this, no, I said, and it stayed more civil. So maybe that's a good way to handle it. Maybe you bring in an objective outside party to try to not referee, but just kind of be there as kind of like, keeping everybody on the level playing field.
Yeah, I think that can be helpful, especially if it is somebody that's kind of unbiased, maybe that knows both of the people involved, but is kind of unbiased to it, and just says like, hey, I'm just kind of here to be somewhat of a peacemaker. I think that should be our heart attitude going into any kind of conflict resolution, though, especially between believers, is to make peace, because that's what we're called to in Scripture, is to be peacemakers and to seek peace and to pursue it. That's, clearly laid out there. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to have issues with people, or that we're not going to have situations where we're kind of either our feelings get hurt or we're just not happy with something, like what your friend went through, with a service that was provided that they weren't happy with or whatever. But I think before we do anything, we should check our own heart and just make sure that we're approaching the situation in a way that's our heart's in the right place, and we're not, angry, or we're not going into it really, really upset, and we're already kind of, I say it like simmering, you're about ready to go and say some things that you maybe don't mean. Making sure that that's not your attitude going into that situation. Calm yourself down, make sure your heart's in the right place, and you're kind of at peace with yourself, with the Lord, with this other person, and trying to get in that place before you even say a word to this other person that you're not happy with.
Because here's the bottom line. You have to get it resolved.
Yeah.
You can't let it fester.
It can't fester.
Because, we talk about Scripture. That's got to be our basis. What did Jesus say? If you have something against your brother or some kind of little friction there, you got to get that thing worked out so that your prayers will be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that puts a lot of onus on it, to make sure that it's done. And then, you talk about other scriptures with the Bible. Paul talked about, don't be suing each other and taking each other to court or doing this or doing that, so that the outside world won't look at you and think, why are two Christians that are supposed to love one another acting like this,
Okay, so bringing that up, when do you think, or do you think it's okay for Christians to go to court over stuff?
Well, again, I think it has to be something that's extremely serious. Because Paul talks about petty stuff.
Right.
Don't be bringing petty stuff. So if you and I have a conflict over, hey, I bought you a Coke last week.
Yeah.
I need my dollar back, or else I'm taking you to small claims court. We're going to go to Judge Judy.
Go ahead, big guy. I don't care.
That's right. Well, now all of a sudden,
Yeah.
people are going to be watching Judge Judy, and they see Steve and Bethany fighting over $1.
Which,
these are
honestly, might improve ratings. We don't know.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
No, but for seriously though, that
Yeah.
petty little stuff.
Yeah.
Now, when it gets to be the serious natures of stuff, then all of a sudden, I think you have to take legal action on things like that. In fact, that's something we ought to talk about in the next segment, is when it's okay to do that and when it's not. So y'all hang on. We'll come right back and finish this up. Something that we're very passionate about here at the Hopecast is introducing you to the businesses that support us and help them to grow.
And one of our favorite businesses happens to be owned by one of our biggest listeners. It's Tina Clark from Love Your Flair Boutique. It's an online store with tons of super cute stuff, and they just rolled out a bunch of new items just in time for fall. So whether you want an adorable shirt for Thanksgiving or football season, or one with like a Bible verse on it to wear year-round, Love Your Flair Boutique has something that you'll love.
Tina has always had this dream of starting a business like Love Your Flair, but really never acted on it until she realized that by taking this leap of faith to go out on her own, she'd be able to show her kids that dreams can be achieved. Bethany and I have really enjoyed getting to know her lately, and we know that you're going to love her too. So check out all that she has to offer over at Love Your Flair's Facebook page. Check the show description for the link, or just go to StephenBethany.com.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us here at Steve and Bethany's Hopecast. We are talking this week about conflict between believers and how you handle that in a way that's honoring to the Lord and represents Christ well, especially to a world that's watching. People that maybe don't know the Lord, we still have some influence, and we all have friends and neighbors and coworkers maybe that aren't Christians, and they're watching how we live our lives. So how do we as Christians represent Christ well with conflict or within conflict? And we mentioned this in the last segment that Paul talks about not taking another believer to court over petty stuff. Like, don't do that. It just doesn't look good. It's not a great look.
Right.
And so when would you say as a Christian it's okay to do that?
Well, okay, the first thing that jumped in my mind when I started thinking about this was, to our great shame, the church culture now has a lot of sexual abuse cases going on. Now, look, if you're dealing with something like that and you feel like that's happened to you, and you're afraid to bring conflict against a church leader or whatever, look, that's totally
That's a completely different
thing. Absolutely. You bring whatever kind of justice needs to happen. Yes, absolutely. And when you're talking about, and I think you can even go to like, loss of funds, if it gets to be, in this case with my two friends, it was a significant amount of money. I mean, it was a lot of money at my house, So if there were to have been a total disagreement, I don't know, would I have just decided to eat it and move on, or would I have wanted to try to do something more? I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't answer that. I wish I could say, yeah, absolutely not. I would just take the high road, and I would absolutely just take it as a lesson learned. I don't know that I would. I would like to think I would. But I think, in those situations, as long as it's just, like I say, going back to the scripture, it's not just petty little things that could cause conflict with your brother. It's at all. What is it Paul said? And I guess he was talking about it in a different context, but Paul also said, as much as you can, be at peace with one another, Yeah. And I think we have to get that stuff resolved, or else it's just going to linger. And then that simmering effect and what you're talking about happens, because especially if you are a believer and maybe you go to the same church, all of a sudden the next time you see that person, or every time you see that person, or every time you think about that person, that simmering just starts a little bit more and more.
Well, and also too, I think this is kind of, an extreme case, but that's how church splits happen. That's how you get a first, second, third, fourth, fifth Baptist
That's right.
all on the same street. A lot,
That's right.
not in every case. Don't hear me that, in that way, but a lot of the times church splits happen because of little tiny disagreements. And then, that kind of grumpy party that's not happy about how they've been treated, or there's a disagreement in the body, they go, okay, I'm going to start my own church, and they go down the road and start another church. And that's not always the case. And so I'm not wanting to make a blanket statement here, but I'm saying that can be the case, is that tiny little disagreements fester and grow and grow and grow, and then it splits a church.
I'll give you a perfect example of that in our 2021 living. And that is masks. There's a lot of people that are anti-mask, and there are a lot of people that go to churches that are like, I would feel more comfortable if we wore a mask. Our pastor has said from our pulpit, and even to us as a leadership team, it's the most divisive thing that's out there right now among congregation is the mask. So we decided to try to say, here's the way we're going to handle it. If you feel comfortable wearing a mask, wear it. If you don't, and we encourage everyone to get a vaccine if you want to get the vaccine, if that's the best thing for you and your family,
right?
You think that. So we didn't take a hard line stance on it, because it wasn't worth the conflict.
And that's, I think, the main, maybe the bottom line of this whole episode is that there is a point where you might just have to agree to disagree, or to say, you know what, we just have kind of different views there. If you want to listen to our episode about different convictions between believers, go into the archives. But
very nice plug.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. But no, I think that as Christians, we're still people, and there's still going to be situations where we say, okay, I feel really strongly about this, and this other person I go to church with, they don't feel strongly about it, and you just have to agree to disagree. But looking at situations or topics that can be divisive and saying, is this worth breaking fellowship over? Is this worth taking somebody to court over? Or is this worth fill in the blank, whatever that is? Is it worth it? And does it, is this going to really impact my witness? Or is this going to impact how people see me in my walk with Christ and know that I'm a Christian? Is this going to impact how I'm perceived? Not in a caring too much about what people think, but
no, I get it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, is it worth it? And if it's not, then why is it being maybe blown out of proportion and made a big deal when it could be resolved in a simple conversation over a cup of coffee?
And I think going one step further, if the answer to the question is, okay, in my mind, I do think it's worth it. I think then that's when you go to a person that you trust their judgment, and you say, okay, here's my feeling. Here's what happened. Am I out of line with this? If I am, just tell me.
Well, because I think emotion, and we know this, emotion can cloud a lot of judgment and can cloud us making the best decision, especially when it's something that's maybe personal, or we feel like really like we were wronged in this situation.
Yeah, or the finances, like with Bob.
Right, yeah,
you know?
something that's pretty personal,
Yeah.
like, hey, this impacted me and my family, or something like that. I think it's helpful to bring in a third person that's not quite as invested emotionally, that can maybe think a little bit more clearly in that moment and say, I get it that you're upset, that maybe you're blowing it out of proportion. Just talk to the person, or say, hey, I'll go with you and we can talk to them together and hopefully find a way to resolve this without breaking fellowship or breaking a friendship, or really just causing unnecessary strife, especially within the same church body or just the body of Christ as a whole. I think this world has enough arguments and enough things going on that aren't positive, that we should at every opportunity try to seek peace, try to find a resolution between believers, and just not get hung up on those little things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a great way to kind of leave it right there. We appreciate you joining us here on Steve and Bethany's Hopecast this week. And we hope that this has provided you with some ammunition to be able to take whenever you do have some kind of conflict, especially with a brother or sister in Christ. Mm-hmm. And if it has helped you, we'd love to hear about it. You'd love to get interactive with us and let us know if this has made any sense whatsoever, and maybe that if you tried any of these tips before. So let us know. Now, before we wrap things up, we got to get to Guess the Gobbler.
Yes.
Because Guess the Gobbler is the game that's taking, the nation and this world, because this is a worldwide podcast, by storm.
By storm.
It is. And
do we need to explain exactly what we're doing here?
Yeah, we probably
before we get into this.
So we've got a celebrity, a real life, big time celebrity who has gobbled like a turkey for us, and we want you to identify said celebrity.
Now, before we play the little snippet of the celebrity, I think we should read off the wrong answers, the wrong guesses. So some people have said is it Sam Elliott? No. Gary Busey? No. Sam Pittman? No. Jeff Bridges? No. And there's additional wrong answers that are all listed on our website.
Absolutely. So it's none of those people, but I want you to listen and see if you can figure out who it is. The Guess the Gobbler right here.
Gobble, gobble.
Ooh, see, that was pretty quick.
One
I
more
know.
time?
We'll give you one more chance. So turn the volume up a little bit. Everybody kind of quiet down and listen up. And here it is again.
Gobble, gobble.
Who is that?
Who do you think it is?
Let us know. You can do so in the show notes. There's a link right there. You can also listen to it over and over, because we've got a link for that as well. But you can leave your guess, and then the person that gets it correct will win a $100 Steve and Bethany's gift box.
Yeah, so be sure to put your guess in there, and you can also guess multiple times. It's not a one and done
absolutely.
thing.
If you get it wrong, we send out an email saying you got it wrong, but try again.
Try again.
Yeah.
We want you to get this right. So
absolutely.
Go to the website, steveandbethany.com, or you can also just click the link below. Also, next week, we're really excited. We are going to be doing a holiday survival guide episode. This is actually a little bit of a, should we say, a Steve and Bethany Hopecast vintage?
A classic vintage?
A classic?
I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because this is an episode that we actually recorded last year, and it was one of our most downloaded episodes. So we were bringing it out of the archives for your listening pleasure once again.
Yeah, let's be transparent about this thing too, because we were talking about what are we going to do for basically Thanksgiving week.
Right.
And so we said, well, let's go back and play this episode. And so I thought, okay, well, let's make sure it's not dated and the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I'm listening back to it. It's really good.
Yeah, I
mean,
think it's good. And I did text you, if we're going to have transparency here,
Yeah.
I did text you that, and I just said, work harder, or work smarter, not harder.
That's right.
That's what I texted you. So, in the words of the wizard, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain here. It's
Right.
all smoke and mirrors. We just really didn't want to record another episode for Thanksgiving week. So,
We don't have to be that transparent.
sorry. Just
But
cut that out. We'll take it back.
it is a very good episode, because we cover a lot of ground when it talks about dealing with families, because we all know how it is. As much as you love your family,
Right.
they can start to grind on you a little bit after being together too much.
Well, I think it's just, it's the case with anybody. No
Yeah.
family is perfect. We're all people. And so there's always going to be moments that are a little frustrating or stressful. And so we talk about all of that in that episode, and we'll be dropping it once again next week.
Absolutely. So look forward to that. We want to say thank you to TJ and all of his team here at Blue Stream Media. We appreciate him. Blue Stream is an amazing event production, AV, just guru.
Extraordinaire.
Extraordinaire, yeah. So if you need anything, a conference, an event coming up with your church, or maybe just one of your, like a social club that you're in or whatever, call Blue Stream Media, BLUstreammedia.com. You get all the details, and TJ will take care of everything for you. And we also want to say thanks to our buddy Tina at Love Your Flair for sponsoring today's episode.
Yeah, Tina is a great friend of the podcast, and we have her boutique linked below.
Yes, go buy something for the holidays.
For real.
For crying out loud.
She's got the cutest t-shirts, the cutest hats, all kinds of designs, different colors, and everything really that you could want in a online shopping boutique. It's a great place to go. So it's linked down below. Big thank you to Tina. We also want to say thank you to our patrons for the podcast, because they are kind of like the OG Steve and Bethany fans. They support us not just in a financial sense, but also just providing us with show ideas, praying for us, and just being great friends to us. So if you want to become a patron, if this podcast has encouraged you, and we just want to have you kind of be in that club, so join us at patreon.com/Steve and Bethany's Hopecast.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you again next week with our holiday survival guide. Till then, goodbye. Good night,
y'all.
Olive Branch.